Hey, finance experts. Today we're going to be looking at some mutual funds. So the point of this is we're going to be gathering information on 6 separate funds, 2 from the sectors, 2 from domestic, and 2 international. Okay. So the 2 sectors that I chose to choose from are Vanguard Healthcare and MFS Technology Fund. Starting things off, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to be looking at net asset value, which is the price in which investors pay or sell for the fund that shows. For fund shares, I'm sorry. Expense ratio, which is the amount of expenses for managing the fund. And then as well, turnover ratio, which is the percent of funds holdings that a fund has that has been replaced over the previous year. We're going to be looking at their performance, which is I'm going to do the 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year return. And then also the benchmark, comparing it to the other firms in its category, as well as its management. So let's take a look. And first off, we have Vanguard Healthcare for our sector mutual fund. Getting things started, they have a net asset value of $221.95, which is incredibly high price compared to every other mutual fund I have in this presentation. That being said, their expense ratio, did not mean to zoom in. Their expense ratio is only 30.38%, which is extremely low compared to everything else, and their turnover rate is 11%, which is pretty normal. Going over to performance. We have it shows their 1 year. They're doing great, but compared to their benchmark, they're below in their 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year, which is not a good sign. Management wise, let's go to people. Management wise, to be honest, their manager is heavily invested in this fund, which is a good thing in my opinion, because the manager has the fund's best intentions in their mind. So let's move on to the next. Next we have, for the sector, MFS Technology Fund. So its net asset value, as you will see when it pops up, is $40.35, which is way cheaper than Vanguard. Expense ratio, a little, not too much. It's only 1.24%. Its turnover is 30%, which is a lot higher than Vanguard's. So let's go check out performance. So performance-wise, let's go quarterly. We'll see that they're actually doing a lot better than their benchmarks. If it'll load. Yep, a lot better. 32. Actually, 8% better, 2% better, and then 1.7% better. So, in my opinion, that is great. Going over to management. For management, they've had the same management, many managers over the years, which is a downside to me. That means it's a lot of changed hands, which that'll be a negative for me. But looking at both, comparing both, the only good thing about Vanguard, in my opinion, is expense ratio and the turnover ratio, which isn't translating over into their performance. So I would say that in the sector, I would give MFS Technology Fund, I would rate that above the rest, above Vanguard. So moving over to our domestic, we have Schwab 500. And we have Schwab 500 with a quote. And its net asset value when it pops up will be $43.28, which is not too bad. It is a very low expense ratio of 0.03%, which I really do like, and a turnover ratio of 2%, which is super low. Going over to performance. So performance-wise, it is doing better than its benchmark, but not by much. As you can see here, it's only less than a percent, less than a percent. Oh, that's 5 year, less than a percent. And 10 years actually lower. Oh, that's index. Okay, so never mind. Barely over 2%. It's still barely passes benchmark. Okay, going over to management. Management, it actually has 3 different managers, and none of them are really heavily invested into the fund, which is a big problem for me. Let's go over to the next one. Okay, so we have a Vanguard Equity Fund for our second domestic. As you can tell, it's being sold for $30.62, which is cheaper than Schwab 500. It has a higher expense ratio, much higher, but it's still under 1%. The turnover is way higher, 45% higher actually. But let's see if that translates over in their performance. Okay, so performance-wise, we're showing that they're actually about the same compared to their benchmarks. It's only showing it's 1.3% higher on 1 year's, 1.86 on 2 year, and not even 1.1% in 10 year. But still, performance-wise, they're about the same, but you get more return through Vanguard. So looking at everything, again, just like the last one, domestic has a better expense and turnover ratio, but Vanguard has cheaper, and it's got better performance. You mean more return, and oh, the managers. I'm sorry. Management-wise, it has 7 managers that are active right now, which is many hands, which I kind of do like. That means there's more people over your shoulder making sure you're doing things right. So I definitely choose Vanguard Equity Fund over Schwab 500. Okay, now moving on to our last section, which is international. We have Barron International Growth Fund, which has a net asset value of $20.32, $20.32. I don't know why I said it like that. Expense ratio is only 1.2%, which is extremely low. Its turnover is 31%, which is okay, I guess. Checking the performance. When it decides to load. Okay, so performance-wise, it is barely making it. It's not even 10 years old. I'm thinking it'll make 10 years old this year, so we don't have a 10-year benchmark. But it is barely making it past its benchmark. As you can see, in the 1 year, it's only 0.11%, and then 1.77% higher than its benchmark. Let's go check out the management. What I liked about this mutual fund is that it's had the same manager since its inception, which is in 2008, as you can see here. But it's the same guy, so the guy knows what he's doing. I mean, if anybody knows this mutual fund, it's him. Okay, lastly, we have Hennessy Japan Small Cap Investor. They are cheaper than Barron International Growth Fund. It has a higher expense ratio at 1.61%, and also a 10% higher turnover ratio, which still that's not too much. 41%, I've seen way higher. Okay, let's move over. Okay, so looking at returns, we have this actually does great in returns compared to its benchmark. This one's over almost 6% higher than its benchmark. Then also 8% here, and then almost 6% there. So I think they're doing great compared to other ones. Go check out the management. Also higher returns, way higher returns than Barron International. Okay, and then the management, they have two managers, which changes often. I don't really like that. I like to have continuity, and most people do too. But looking at both of them, I would have to go with Hennessy Japan Small Cap Investor because, I mean, it's cheaper and its returns are way higher. Other than that, just going over everything, I'd rather Hennessy Japan Small Cap Investor for my international, Vanguard Equity Fund for domestic, and MFS Technology Fund for my sector. Thank you.